Opinions are, well, they're like belly buttons. Everyone has them. Some people even share them on social media. Okay, so here's a hypothetical. What if an opportunity popped up? Call it land adjacent to your own. Maybe it's an office building in that perfect spot, mountain cabin. Whatever, would you sell gold to do it? And then if you did, what happens next? Would you just be out for good, or are you back to trying to replace it? Now, some here have said they would just never sell their gold. It's not for material things. I don't personally have that never sell mindset, but there's some friction there. I definitely have some trouble selling, say, more than half. I'd hate to see that go. So here's where this is coming from. In 2020, I was looking at some land, but I passed on it for a few reasons. Some of you might remember what was going on at the time, but now 3 years later, I'm looking again, and prices this time are just silly. Like, the sellers are angry. The asking price on the same dirt is double. Before we get back to it, if you're looking for precious metals, hit up SD Bullion. New customers even get gold and silver for spot. It's sdbullion.com/new. So there's a chance here the increased price just puts me out of the market altogether for that particular spot. But one thing I could do is sell some gold to make the deal work. The point of this video, it's not whether or not I'm going to buy the property. I'll just say that the location makes that property more valuable to me. It's Park Place coming up when I already have Boardwalk. It's just smaller scale. I'm not going to be putting up hotels. Now, the point of the video, though, is about having the gold, whether or not you would sell it to fund something else, and then what you would do if you did. And when I say you, I guess I mean I, because I'm making the video, but this topic is universal. It gets into the question of whether gold is a good investment. So I'm going to add another layer to this. Over the weekend, a friend sent me a video, and it was titled, "Why You Shouldn't Buy Physical Gold and Silver." Now, I'd already seen it. Someone with a channel on real estate, personal finance, and investing that comes from their About page. They made a video about how it was a bad investment for him. Now, I'm not going to link to it because it truly is just about him, but you can find it online if you're interested. Just search for that title. So I've mentioned before, gold, it's not an investment to me, it's savings. It's insurance to a certain degree, an asset that beats cash. It's even a hobby. It's a lot of things, but it has the same footprint as typical savings, meaning I'm not out any more than I would be out if I was saving cash. And that probably needs an asterisk because there's premium involved and there's just no guarantee on price appreciation. So it's not the same as cash, but I'm personally well ahead of that initial dollar cost by now, so it's been better than cash for me. And one of the things that we don't talk about a lot is how gold can work as capital. If an opportunity pops up, having some gold that you can put toward it gives you an option that you wouldn't have otherwise had. It's the same as having a savings account, having some sideline cash, except that, again, gold is all of those other things too. And for a lot of people, it's probably just easier to save. It's a lot more interesting. And that part is something that I don't think I can overstate. I have investments in really most of the asset classes that any average person could get into, but a lot of those investments lock up the capital. I couldn't easily liquidate them without taking losses. So maybe you've heard me say some of that before, but this is important background for the idea here, or the ideas. Whether gold is a bad investment, whether you could or would use it for actual investments, and if those two things together change the overall outlook of stacking in the first place. And the best way that I can think of to answer these questions is just to get into what I would do, whether I would sell some or all of the gold that I have to make an opportunity possible, and then whether I do it again if I did sell, meaning would I turn around and start buying gold again. So on the investment angle, I mentioned that I have, so my largest investments are going to be in real estate, which I could hypothetically take equity loans against, or in the tax advantage retirement accounts. I really can't touch those without taking huge penalties. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through a whole rundown. I'm just giving an overview just to explain how gold fits in here. To keep this simple, I have brokerage accounts, I have some bonds, I still have some crypto, I have regular savings accounts, and then I have gold. Now, I don't want to liquidate any of them if I don't have to. Those brokerage accounts are doing what they're supposed to be doing, selling down positions. It just doesn't make sense, especially for short-term trades. The bonds, they'd have big penalties. Crypto, they'd be selling at a relative low, and I'd have a tax hit on it anyway. And I don't keep big sums of money in savings accounts that aren't earmarked for specific things or emergency uses. And that brings us back to gold. I would say gold serves a lot of different purposes, but I don't have one single critical use for it. I don't need it to replace a roof. I shouldn't need it to fund my retirement. It's something I've purchased with discretionary funds. Money I was otherwise wasting, money I wasn't otherwise relying on. Now, if you do that for 16 years, you end up with a significant amount of capital. You don't have any scars from that effort. To the question of whether gold is a good investment, or just really commenting on the idea that it's a bad one, the situation of an opportunity coming up, whether or not you'd otherwise have the capital to jump on it, it's a good thing to consider whether you sell or not. If you take the example that I gave, a property comes up for sale, let's say it's right next to you, they want $500,000, really I'm just picking a number here, you'd need 20% of that in available capital to make it work. You'd need $100,000. More math. I know. I'm going to ignore that part for now. The situation's a different number for me. Anyway, that's irrelevant. The easiest way for me to come up with 20% of any number, whatever the price is, would be to sell some gold. Now, I'd get creative to sell the least amount of gold as possible, but I'd also be trying to get into that deal with more than 20% down. To me here, the idea that I have capital available for opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had, that's a huge pro for gold. And it's easy to pick that apart. You could say that I could have done other things, but as somebody who has done a lot of other things over the years, I'm still looking at a case where I have gold that I could use if I needed to without affecting anything else. Now, there's no magic about it, but being able to see gold as you accumulate it, that's a hit that you just don't get with other forms of savings or short-term investments, and it makes it easier to save. Now, I would say that that alone destroys the argument that it's a terrible investment. So a lot of this is personal case rather than objective facts. There was a lot like that video that I'm not linking to. I can only tell you what happened in my case, and I'm going to stick to that for a minute. If I did sell off my gold for a real estate or a land opportunity, well, then the next question is whether or not I would replace it. I think that that gets into whether I think it's a good enough investment to do it again. So I mentioned before that I have trouble selling more than half the gold I have right now. That just kind of kills the momentum a little bit, but whether I needed to sell half or even sell most of it, all of it, I would immediately work to replace it. Let's say I took it down to my magic 3-ounce number. Well, I would just continue buying on a schedule from there on out, and I'd try to catch up on some big dips. So that's my take on the topic. Gold, it's not lost once you've acquired it. Worst case, you use it to acquire something else if you don't like it. Now, if I was just spending dollars to make more dollars, there are going to be faster horses. But the case that I can actually demonstrate what's actually happened with me is that I've been motivated to build up gold when I didn't have much motivation to just sideline cash. And that makes it easier to jump on bigger opportunities. Now, if all this seems like a hypothetical, like I'm just talking about random possibilities, random cases, well, maybe you've heard the echoes here. It's because I'm making this video from a property that I had to make an immediate decision on a few years back, a decision that I was able to make because I had gold available to liquidate. I've done it before, and I can say it's been a pretty good investment for me. Now, let's call it good there. Let us know what you think about selling some gold to jump on opportunities. I know at least a few of you have already done it. I'd like to hear your take either way. So let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit the like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.